All right, there we are. Let's do it live. God damn it. No. We're talking Crowley with creepy little book. What is up, my friend? How are
Hello,
you
hello.
doing?
Pretty good, pretty good.
We're also this time we're joined by my English brother, Jensen Quinn. Hey, Jensen, say hi to the crowd.
Hello, everybody. Pleasure to meet you all. And hello,
So,
Pete.
well, no. So, Jensen, you are the reincarnated Alister Crowley, right? You're here to defend him.
In all fairness, Alister Crowley would actually be laughed at nowadays by most of the quote unquote degenerates out there. They would actually consider half of the things he does to be, at best, amusing. Just think of the sort of things that actually goes on in this world nowadays.
Well, you English people are sick. I mean, it is what it is. It's all right. Glad we separated. But no, we're over here now. All right. So I want to go in a little bit more. That honeymoon. Like, dude, who has their honeymoon in a goddamn pyramid
Alistair
and
Crowley
does a
does.
ritual?
That's who does. That's exactly who does it. A degenerate named Alistair Crowley.
What was it smart? I mean, I don't know. I think he was playing with shit that he didn't understand. You know what I mean?
I think he understood full well what he was playing with and didn't care.
Really? Just
Yeah.
reckless. Just, I don't care. I'll jump in the fire. It's on.
Or if you think about it, the guy was trying to show his devotion to his god of choice, for want of a better term here, by doing something such out of left field. It would show the devotion towards his preferred religion. After all, you can't do anything normal if you're professing to follow a religion that has nothing to do with quote unquote normal. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Oh, I would agree with that wholeheartedly.
Well, and here's the thing, Jensen, before we move on, because we're going to dig into the book of the law, and I'll probably take up the rest of the show. Was Alistair Crowley a traitor to the British Empire?
Now, that's a very loaded question. After all, it's not like the nobles of Britain were in any way connected with any of the more dodgy things going on. After all, as we discussed earlier on your original stream, Benjamin Franklin wasn't exactly Mr. Shining Paladin, now was he? Especially after all of those bodies were found under his house. So whether or not he classed as a traitor, that is a very open situation. Like I say, how can you define someone a traitor when the rest of the nobility were doing exactly the same, or let's be fair, worse than some of the things he was doing? The difference is he was couching his as a religion, where a lot of these people were doing it quite literally because it made them feel good and nothing else.
Well, no, I think you're misunderstanding me. I'm talking about World War II, the blimp incident, where he tried to go work for the British, and they told him to fuck off. And so what did he do? He went and worked for the Germans.
Well, in all honesty, mate, just based on your libertarian ideals, he went to where the money was coming in. Do you really think that that's unreasonable?
Oh, fair point. Pete, you want to throw your hat in there?
Look, I think this man was a degenerate. I have no respect for him. I think that he's overrated in occult circles. I don't have much positive to say about Crowley or the Book of the Law or Thelema or the OTO or the Golden Dawn. I think all of them were a rich people's club that got out of control when some weirdo got in it and tried to take it over.
I completely agree with you. at the end of the day, they just went off on their, having their fun. Were they doing the right thing? No. Some of the things that were suggested that he was meant to have taken part in, he was an appalling person. But it has to be said, he did attempt to follow the primary rule in the Book of Law, do as you will. So he did. Now, granted, his actions, well, yeah, his actions were not nice by any stretch of the imagination. And in my opinion, and hell, I've got no real claim on this, but simply put, the guy was incompetent. Yes, he got a cult together. Yes, he become famous, but nowadays, like I say, he wouldn't actually be considered that extreme in comparison to things that you hear goes on in society now.
Do you know what happened in Italy, dude? Like, they were drinking fucking goat's blood and fucking why they did it. Like, I mean, Pete, elaborate a little bit. You're not on your channel, so you can go fucking all out. Like, handle it, dude.
They were engaged in very likely animal sacrifice, and it was rumored human sacrifice. It was also rumored that they were involved in disgusting depravity involving children, which is beyond the pale.
Oh, no, I didn't hear that part. Where did you hear that?
Crowley.
You knew about that.
Yeah, Crowley in Italy was all about diddling kids.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Crowley's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Like he's a real. That's why
obviously.
Yeah, that's part of the reason why I think Crowley's such a piece of shit. Like, that's why I'm like, oh, Crowley? Fuck Crowley. Because Crowley was just a piece of shit. And he's like, rock and rollers have, like, overblown his legacy and created some kind of a rebel folk hero out of him, like this kind of symbol for rebellion and all. He was a literal piece of shit. Like, when I talk about Crowley, like, I cannot stress enough how he was a fucking degenerate and such a piece of shit.
I didn't know about the kid thing. That makes me rethink my whole stance on Crowley. Because I was kind of the opposite. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, hey, non-aggression principle, freedom, sign me up. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, but it's a lot deeper than that. He was a diddler. He was a piece of shit. Like, if it was depraved and fucked up, he did it. You're telling me you thought this man would eat human shit, but diddling kids was beyond his fucking threshold of weirdness? No, man. He was a piece of shit through and fucking through.
To be honest, Mad, you'd probably want to do it. Think of it this way: if you can think of any act that the Bible actually prescribes, he would directly go out of his way to partake in said actions. The whole point was to, reverse the entire situation. My apologies. Reverse the entire acts of the church and to pervert them, quite simply. So, yeah, the fact that he was harming children doesn't surprise me whatsoever. Simply put, if you can consider an act that is considered devout in Christianity, go to the exact opposite, and that would not be an unreasonable way of looking at how he thought it was acceptable.
Well, okay, so his honeymoon ends, right? 3 days later, his wife starts talking about, I don't know, the book of the law, right? She starts spouting out words, and he transcribes it. Do you think that actually happened?
No, because he didn't believe her at first. She starts talking about, oh, I'm channeling this ancient Egyptian spirit. She doesn't know anything about magic. She doesn't know anything about Egypt. But she starts talking this mumbo jumbo. So he entertains her for a little bit, but he takes her to the Egyptian Museum in Cairo, and she runs to exhibit 666, which is a statue of Horus, and was like, this is the god who talked to me. This is the person who's calling you. You're their prophet. And then his wife has dictated the book of the law through the god Horus. And that's where the book of the law comes from.
Well, so do you think he made it all up in 48 hours? That's a big book, dude. I mean, it's not that big, but it's big enough. Like, it'd take me longer than 48 hours to write it.
Well, it depends on what drugs he was.
saying?
It depends on what drugs he was on. You know, he could have been on amphetamines and was up for 48 hours blasting away at writing.
Good point. Good point. What do you think, Jensen?
Well, to be fair, yes. At the end of the day, they would have been taking pretty much any narcotic you could sniff, smoke, or imbibe in any which way. So it wouldn't surprise me if they were quite literally out of their heads, no sleep, just writing and talking, coming up with this new, and I'm going to use air quotes here, religion.
Well, why use air quotes? What makes a religion a religion? I mean, really?
Actually, that's fairly easy. A religion is anything that a large group of people believe in and put their faith in. Now, the reason that I put the air quotes onto it was purely because any religion that espouses causing that sort of injury to others, and especially to kids, that is not a religion I want anything to do with, not including flamethrowers.
Well, no, and I didn't know about the kid thing until Pete brought it up. What I had heard in the documentaries is kids were there. And yeah, they'd run around and do whatever, but that was it. I didn't hear any of the other accusations that Pete brought up. I had never heard that.
Okay. Well, honestly, mate, easiest way to do it is look at whatever would be considered acceptable behavior, reverse it, and then put a religious spin onto why you're doing it. Now, I could be wrong, but that is how it comes across to me.
I think that's pretty apt.
Okay, cool. Thank you. I'm no expert here. I've got a vague working knowledge, but I don't claim any sort of expertise. I will bow to anything you say, as probably a damn sight more likely to be accurate for anything I say.
Well, no, and let's take a look at the chat here. What we got going on? Queen of the South's in there. Hey, what's up? We got Tina up in there. What's up, Tina? Thanks for coming over. Aaron Johnson. There is something with deserts too. Oh, let's talk about that. There we go. Let's talk about that dude that he pretty much put into PTSD, right? Because he dragged him in the desert for 5 days.
Yeah, he dragged him in the desert and sodomized him for 5 days until he went crazy.
Yeah, dude, right? Yeah. Dude, the guy never recovered, right?
No, he never recovered. He went out in the desert with Crowley. He got plowed in the butt and never came back. He didn't come back. He left himself out in the desert because Crowley took his back hole and devastated it. Like, this man was degenerate.
No, I agree with you, man. It's just supposedly they were doing what spell? There was a spell they're trying to do. It wasn't the one he did in the house in Scotland.
It was hocus pocus, make his dick disappear in your butt. That's what it was.
Oh, damn.
That's what happened.
You get hardcore on my channel, dude. Like,
In all fairness, that's what this channel's all about. It is free speech. Do not hold back. Say how you feel. Okay? If you think that this person is absolute scum the same way I do, say it. We are not going to even slightly consider filtering that sort of thing.
Oh, no. I think I've made it pretty clear. I think he's a piece of shit.
Yeah. Good.
What spell was they supposedly trying to do? It wasn't Abermellum. That was in the house up in Scotland. So what spell were they doing out there where he had to put his fucking dick in his butt?
Doing like a la ass blast out there. That's what they were doing.
All ass blast. I like that. Oh, god damn it. All right, Pete, you win this round.
But the point, as I was making earlier, even with all of the acts that this man actually did, look at the sort of things that goes on nowadays. This guy would actually be ignored, possibly even considered a little tame in comparison to some of the degenerates and weirdos that we have nowadays. The fact that he took his family out and, well, took his family member is almost secondary to some of the things that you hear going on, you know, let's be blunt, going on in Hollywood nowadays. Mad?
He's gone.
Oh, bugger.
No,
It's
no,
just done.
I was looking at the chat. Sorry. It took me a second. No, man. Oh, all right. So Crowley, the pyramid shit happens. He writes the book of the law. What exactly do you guys think about the book of the law? I've listened to it more than 20 times. It's not necessarily bad. It really isn't.
In all fairness, a lot of religions don't seem so bad until you start really looking into it. I mean, yes, the concept of do what you will, you know, that sounds perfectly valid, except for the fact that what about if the gentleman next to you decides to do what he will and that stab a knife into your skull? Does this mean that, you know, you're okay with that? Because I'm not personally, and I've got a very different outlook when it comes to most people anyway. So the do what you will sounds wonderful until you really realize that that means everybody out there can do whatever they want and it's acceptable under this religion's, you know, beliefs. That's not as good as it sounds.
What do you think, Pete?
I think it's a degenerate excuse to take buttholes. I think the guy was all about buttholes. I think he was not satisfied with any depravity, and he kept pushing the limits. And if he could make a religion out of his weird depravity, and in doing so, achieve higher levels of depravity, that's what it was all about for him. Like, he's just a weirdo. He's just a real weird, sick son of a bitch who wrote a book. He wrote several books. I mean, let's not just say there's the Book of the Law, of course. There's also Diary of a Drug Fiend, Diary of Alister Crowley, like Diary of a Drug Fiend. The man was a drug fiend. He was a drug addict, sex addict, piece of shit, child molester, shit eater, cum eater, weirdo who has no redeeming contribution to society.
And I agree with you completely. Just wanted that stated.
Okay, well, do you guys want to dig more into the book of the law because there's more in there, or do you want to go on to rock and roll and how they glorify said shit eater?
Well, why don't you give us a little read up on the Book of the Law, because you've been listening to it so much. What do you get out of it?
Well, I like the opening. I like the freedom that it's talking about. But when he digs into crucifying the Virgin Mary on an upside down cross, the Catholic in me is screaming. You know what I mean, Pete? Like, dude, you're a fellow Catholic, right? Like, you know what I'm talking about. Like, no, you don't fuck with the Virgin Mary.
Well, I was raised Catholic. I'm like I said, my kind of religious beliefs are a little stranger than that these days.
Yeah, but are you going to crucify the Virgin Mary?
The Virgin Mary is a constellation.
Well, Whoa, dig deeper into that, dude. What's that mean?
Yeah.
Virgin Mary is a constellation Virgo. You have 12 apostles. You have 12 signs of the zodiac. You have the 3 days and it'll raise from the dead. You have the 3 days where the sun sinks down to below the horizon around December 25th, and it's the rebirth of the sun. Like everything in the Bible is written in the stars. It's all astrotheology.
Okay, cool. Thank you for the info. Right. My point with our dear little Crowley is that, yes, the man was scum. And the reason he was scum was because he was deliberately trying to be scum. Nowadays, as much as I sound like I'm lightening this, but he was basically what in the modern day we would call an edgelord, except he was an edgelord with even less personal, morality.
Well, yeah, no, and the thing is, people died at that place in Italy, right? Pete, like, a dude died.
In all fairness, if you're doing sacrifices, and my next comment probably going to offend at least some people, but if people don't die when you're doing sacrifices, something's going wrong with the sacrifices. Okay?
That's not what they were doing. They were doing ritual magic. I believe it was sex magic. Most likely it is Crowley. The dude drank goat's blood during sexual intercourse. The goat's blood gave him food poisoning and he died. Well, dude, don't drink goat's blood, you dumb bastard. But is that Crowley's fault?
Well, you could look at that as karma right there, I suppose. He's committing all these acts of depravity, and one of them is the reason he ended up dying. Personally, that is karma biting him on the ass, in my opinion.
Well, no, and it did bite him on the ass. After that, immediately they got deported out of Italy. Right, Pete? Like, that's what happened, right?
Yeah, Mussolini kicked him out of Italy because they were such degenerates. Like, they were accused of animal and human sacrifice. Just got back to the authorities, and Mussolini had them deported.
And that's Mussolini. You guys remember who he is? Come on.
Yes, but let's be fair. Unless history's been keeping information from us, I don't think Mussolini was going around attempting to summoning up things that, well, are not a good idea to summon into this plane of existence. Let's be completely blunt. And he probably, and I'm making note of the probably, he probably wasn't committing some of the acts that Alister Crowley was doing. Again, I am basing this on the fact that I have never heard of such things going on under Mussolini's rule. Doesn't mean it wasn't.
Well, let's get back to being creepy. Pete, dude. All right, so do you think Alister Crowley summoned a demon?
Yeah.
And if he did, he was possessed at that point, right?
Well, just because he summoned a demon doesn't mean that he himself was possessed. It's possible that he summoned a demon while in the king's chamber in the pyramid, and that his wife became possessed.
So, are you saying the Book of the Law was written by something other than him?
It could have been.
That's an interesting concept. But like you do the Abramelin ritual, right?
Right.
And you don't close it. Don't you think he could have been possessed himself? And maybe that's why he was so deprived. I mean, I don't know anybody that wants to eat human shit. Like, I haven't met anybody yet. I mean,
I don't think that he was possessed. I think that would take away from the fact that he was a depraved piece of shit. So I'm not going to give him a pass and say, oh, he was possessed and that's why he was such a degenerate. he was a degenerate. And whether or not he finished the Abramelin ritual and then let something into the world, I think it's more likely that whatever he let in would haunt the house, not the man. And if he was haunted personally, that doesn't mean that he was necessarily possessed. There's different levels of kind of possession. So you go from like, there's affliction, vexation, and possession. So he could have been demonically afflicted or demonically vexed, but not necessarily demonically possessed.
So you don't believe an evil being was controlling him? You think these were his own actions? He fully knew them, and he went ahead and ate human shit.
Yes. Yes, I think he just went ahead and ate human shit.
Well, what do you think, Judson? Because I don't know about you, dude, but I'm not eating any poop anytime soon.
Then you're obviously not following the path he has created. That's all it means, mate. The guy obviously either believed in or at least put forth the suggestion that he believed in this book. Now, yeah, because we're a little bit more civilized than a degenerate like him, we know that what he was doing was appalling. I mean, honestly, I'm having trouble not swearing at how I feel about this gentleman, but I'm trying not to. The point being is what he was doing was purely a shock jock of its time. He was taking everything that was considered moral and turning it on his head to get a reaction from people, get people to join his cult, to get more people for him, quite simply, to have sex and drugs with.
Amen. Amen to that.
Yeah. It's that weirdly, that's not okay. It's disgusting, but it's not actually unreasonable to do if that is your base plan, and that appears to be what he was actually going for. Now, as again, I'm bringing it back to the more modern aspect. Look at the things that actually go on in this modern world. Alister Crowley would actually probably be sitting there with a notepad and pencil, taking notes of more appalling things that he could actually come up with. After all, don't get me wrong, and I realize throughout history we have come up, as we being humanity, we have come up with some absolutely outstandingly bad ideas at the best of times. Now look at the things that we can do nowadays. He could create absolute horrors with the drugs and the various other things that we have access to now. Just think about that.
No, think about this. Alister Crowley on Crocodile.
Without wanting to lighten it too much, Alistair Crowley having access to plastic. It might sound petty, but think of all the horrible things that you could do sexually just involving a plastic pipe and a victim. Straight away, you're already taking it beyond just normal sex into going into, well, let's be fair, that is your own personal imagination as to the sort of horrors that could occur.
Well, no, and the thing is, Crowley, like, yeah, he was a piece of shit. The Book of the Law itself, though, Pete, what do you think about it? You own it. I know you've read it.
Yeah.
What do you think about the book as a whole?
I think it's disjointed ramblings. I think the whole thing is just disjointed ramblings of a chaotic mind.
Yeah.
So is it like Mein Kampf?
No, it's not like Mein Kampf. It's like the disjointed ramblings of a lunatic, of a drug fiend, of a sex addict. It's like a pervert wrote a book, and a pervert who thought he was a wizard.
Now I could
here's the thing, though. Did he think he was a wizard, or was he?
That is a damn good question. In all fairness, if you actually believe that he succeeded with any of his summonations, then technically, I suppose, yes, you could use the term wizard to describe him. After all, a wizard is just somebody who knows more than the others and is able to produce an effect that others can't. You could actually argue scientists are the modern definition of a wizard.
Yeah.
Yeah, but here's the thing. If the spells worked and the book of the law came from the other realm, then you have to give him a little bit of credit. Yeah, was he a dope fiend and a piece of shit? Yeah, he was. But God works in mysterious ways, I guess. I don't know.
Yes, but at this point, the question is which god is moving in the mysterious ways involving this fine gentleman? After all, saying the word God is all well and good, but when you're talking about someone who is going against the Christian religion literally to the ultimate degree and praising what would be now defined as pagan gods, they were still gods. Because after all, a god is something that gets faith from followers. Because of his actions, someone or something possibly actually gained faith if you're willing to accept the existence of such creatures.
Enough faith to manifest within our world.
Yes.
Yes,
And
exactly.
the point is at this point you've created a link, I suppose would be a good enough term, between this world and wherever the hell, whatever it was he called through. Now, based on what you've told me, because this is knowledge I didn't know about him attempting this in Scotland and not finishing the spell or closing it. Great. That means there is the distinct possibility, if he had had any form of success, that there could have been an open link between point A and point B. Well, that's great for the people that live at point B now, isn't it? After all, if you don't close the spell off, for want of a better term, it's still open. It's still doing what it's doing. And if you're going to say, but it's not receiving faith, think how many people still worship the idea of Alister Crowley.
I believe it was Jimmy Page who purchased the house where he had performed the incomplete ritual. So, you have this guy from Led Zeppelin who buys the house after the fact because it was associated with Crowley, because it was associated with the occult.
Interesting. Didn't know that. Thank you for that information.
Cool. No problem.
Right. Yeah, like I say, I'm not that knowledgeable on this. I only know little bits and pieces. So if I come up with something that sounds incredibly stupid, please tell me. Right. Mad, as you were the one that is running this, what's your opinion on the fact that, famous musicians are buying the area where there may or may not be an open gateway to another plane of existence? Any thoughts? I'll go with no. Okay. Oh, looks like you're stuck with me, sir.
That's quite all right.
This is gonna be fun.
I think we're going good here.
Okay. In all fairness, what's your opinion on the possibility that there might be an open gateway between point A and point B? Does it not concern you the fact that if these people were actually capable of opening such gateways and failing to close them, well, I'm sure you can see the risk here.
It would concern me a lot more if it was my house, but since it's not, I'm not too concerned. But no, I think that the idea that these people would leave these open gateways and by chance leave any future inhabitants open to the kind of vexation and oppression that we can see from these demonic creatures, it's irresponsible. It's irresponsible. And although you couldn't prosecute it, I think it's downright criminal.
Yeah, agree. I mean, let's be completely honest, okay? We don't know what he was contacting with that spell in Scotland, or do we?
Well, he contacted these beings. There were two of them specifically. One was called Lamb, and the other was called Iwas, and both of them look like gray aliens.
Okay.
So that's one thing that's bizarre about it. Like let me see if I can do a screen share here because I'll pull up a picture of Lamb.
Cool. Thank you. Point. Okay, let's go with the fact of aliens as we would now define them. That means it is quite feasible because of this person's actions. This is the reason the Greys became, as common a thing as we see on this planet now. He, for want of a better, left a light on for something that he had no concept of how he was going to control, or let's be fair, even probably deal with.
No, that's very true. Like, and if you look here, you'll see some images of this creature, Lamb, that he was supposedly in contact with. And you'll see how it resembles these gray aliens that we so often see people speak of. Very large head, very long eyes, no nose or mouth to really speak of.
Yeah, that does look like a grey as it would be known nowadays. Wow.
Yeah.
So that kind of opens up a whole thing of whether aliens are actually extra dimensional beings at this point, doesn't it?
I think they're extra dimensional beings. I don't think they come from another planet. I think that anything we'd see from another planet would be robotic in nature. Because any sufficiently advanced society is going to send drones out first. And if you have the power to traverse the stars to any significantly advanced degree where you can travel faster than the speed of light, I think that you're going to use robots to make those kind of missions.
I completely agree with you, actually. Not the least being that we're talking a species that comes from, well, quite simply, not here, which means we don't know if they can breathe that air. So having them in an exosuit, for want of a better term, and please note this would be after the robotic that would have been sent. The creatures would be in an exosuit. They wouldn't be able to deal with our gravity without some sort of manipulation. So yeah, it's perfectly reasonable for them to actually protect themselves. Now the thing is does this mean the demons that we have heard about through the past, could they actually just be extra dimensional aliens?
I would think so. I've actually done a show on that, but yeah, I would definitely think so.
Oh, cool. I'll have to look that up. As you can probably tell, this is the sort of thing I actually have quite a bit of an interest in.
Oh, it seems that way.
Yeah. I run the conspiracy part of this channel normally. So, yeah, I'm fully open to the weird things that the universe is willing to throw at us.
Are you concerned about YouTube cracking down on conspiracy channels?
Oh, yes, very much so. Because normally Wednesday would be our Quinspiracy night. Yes, I know. I cheated on the name. It works for me. The point being is that if they're going to start doing that, that means just doing one night a week show on Mad's channel, we could actually ruin his channel. Now, I realize your channel doesn't class itself as conspiracy in its name.
Not anymore.
Oh, you actually did?
Well, I used to have it among the keywords on the channel, but now I don't.
Yeah, I don't blame you. It's getting, well, what am I saying? It's gone beyond the pale when it comes to what YouTube is now allowing people to actually put out on their platform. I understand it's their platform, but it doesn't mean that what we say necessarily should be controlled by these people. That's
no. Who exactly are we doing harm to? Who are we hurting? Nobody. not a single person. Like nobody.
It's like television. We have the ability to change channel. You know, it's not like they're stuck listening to the rambling drivels of, well, me, to put it bluntly. People to listen to it, or they can choose to go elsewhere. What YouTube is doing, in my opinion, is actually wrong. I mean, utterly wrong. The moment you start taking away people's ability to speak, I mean, you're American. I understand that things are a little bit different between our two countries, but you guys have the whole free speech thing. YouTube is literally standing against one of the primary rule of your country. That's got to feel wrong to you.
Well, no, and it's a United States based company. Yeah, it is wrong.
Pete, your opinion, please.
Oh, he said be right back.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Have we moved away from Crowley? Should we open it up? Let Cabby up in here?
Yes, actually, now is probably a good time to actually consider putting the link out. I'll let you deal with that, okay?
All right. Well, yeah, we're gonna open it up a little bit. If you're a troll and you jump in, I'll kick you. I've about had it with trolls. I'm done. So it is what it is. But you want to jump in and talk? Here you go.
And now we wait and see if anyone's actually wants to step in and give us their opinion. I hope they do.
Well, no, and the link's out there. Yeah, my voice suddenly got worse. That's weird. I don't know why either. I didn't do anything. I just went and fucking took a piss. God damn it. That's all I did.
Well, you know, it is what it is. Just as long as you're capable of keeping on going. So, are you still okay, Mad?
Oh, yeah. I'll smoke a cigarette. We'll see if that helps.
Oh, that's just a stroke of genius. Yeah, okay. Nope. I'm not here to complain. Right. Would anyone like to pop in and give us your opinion? I know this is probably a little bit different to the way Creepy Little Book normally does things, but Mad Dodge is very much a interacting with his people, drag them on and actually speak to them.
Yeah, you got some shit to say? Let's talk about it. You know, I do want to get to Crowley's later life. He died alone, miserable, and hooked on heroin. That's how the bloke died, right? I mean, he did not die as like fucking a king. He died alone in a goddamn boarding house, hooked on heroin. At what, 88? Something like that.
In all fairness, Mad, did you really think it would go any other way? Just look at the sort of things this guy done. Most of the people that probably actually fully supported him back then were probably dead themselves. So of course he ends up penniless and alone. The fact that, you know, it was heroin.
He did. He just ended up destituted. And Tina, you want to jump in? The hangout link's out there. Jump in. And sorry, guys, like my voice sounds even worse now. I apologize.
Right. Well, unfortunately, it doesn't look like anyone wants to pop in and speak to us, which is a pity because that would have been interesting.
Well, they will. There's a lag. You know, it is what it is. But Pete, I hear you vaping.
I'm
You're
back.
Yeah, dude. Crowley, dead, penniless, alone in a boarding house. That's what fucking should have happened, right? Like karma.
No other way. No other way could go.
It is exactly that, mate. The guy did things that would appall most normal people. So let's be honest. Would you honestly want to hang around this guy, Mad?
I don't know. Have a drink or two with him, maybe. Like, I'm not saying he would be my best friend, but
Now you'd have a drink or two. Next thing you know, he'd be destroying your back hole.
Hey guys.
Hi, Tina.
Hello.
No, Pete. No. Stop it. No.
Pete's always about the back hole. No, he's
Good
not.
to know.
Well, no,
I'm
and
just kidding.
Tina.
I'm just
Tina,
kidding.
what do you think about Crowley?
I think, like Pete said, I think he's a piece of shit. I think he was a. I mean, when I think of Crowley, I just think of a child molester and just using excuses to do that. I mean, I realize there was other things that he was trying to do, but I think it all revolves around what, like Pete said, it was just ways to fulfill his debauchery.
So, does the Book of the Law hold no meaning at all? Like, I don't own it. Pete owns it, and I'm jealous. But I don't have it on my bookshelf. But is that a garbage book?
Pete's got some good books. I don't know. I've never read it. What's it about?
Well, Pete, what do you think? Is that a good book?
No, it's a terrible book.
Well, I pretty much covered that then.
Well, no, elaborate. I don't want it that short of an answer. Why is it a terrible book? Because to me,
it's poorly written.
It's poorly written.
It sounds like liberation.
It's poorly written. It's very poorly written. It is just It's just rambling. It's just inane rambling.
Is this something that Crowley wrote?
Yes.
Okay, well, there you go.
That's his. I mean, I could be wrong here, but that is his magnum opus. That is his primary thing that he will be known for. So, yeah. So basically, we've got a weirdo sicko creating a religion that gives him permission to do whatever he wants, whenever he wants. And absolutely nobody actually thought to, well, okay, I'm going to be blunt, put a 9mm bullet in the back of his head just to remove something.
No kidding. That would be like,
I know I can be a little extreme when it comes to people that hurt children. I am a devout believer in flamethrowers are a wonderful cure for pedophiles. I really am.
There you go. I agree with you. I don't even have kids, but I wouldn't treat my animals the way some of these people do, like him, with children.
Yeah.
It's awful. It's awful.
It literally goes against everything natural. But then again, that was kind of his shtick, was to go against everything that would be considered. Natural, yeah. People like that.
Well, no, and here's the thing. Pete has about 10 more minutes left in him. Pete, take it over for 10 minutes then. Like, it's on you now, buddy.
What can I really say about Crowley? My opinion of the man isn't very high. I think that he does have a lasting effect on popular culture, which is undeniable. I mean, you see him show up on the cover of Sgt. Pepper's. He influenced people like David Bowie, and Led Zeppelin's Jimmy Page. So, I mean, he's made his mark on history. Let's not deny him that. And I mean, the man will forever have a legacy as a well-known occultist. It's like Madame Blavatsky. There's very few well-known occultists. You got Israel Regali. You've got, Manly P. Hall. You've got Helena Blavatsky. You've got some Alice Bailey, and you've definitely got Alister Crowley. And you'll never be able to list occultists without listing Crowley among them.
Mm-mm.
Was that meaning that he's worth being elevated to the status of pop culture icon? Personally, I don't think so. I don't think at all. I think he was just a depraved piece of shit, personally. And, that's just my opinion on the man. I don't think very highly of him. I'm not very interested in his teachings. I've read the Book of the Law just to say that I've read the Book of the Law, to be honest. And to me, it's a lot of disjointed rambling. It doesn't make very much sense. There isn't a cohesive narrative to it. It is just
crap.
It's just word soup, It's a word soup, in my opinion, and that's how I feel about Crowley. Take it, leave it, good, bad. I think he was overall a moral negative in every fucking way. And whether or not he's a pop culture icon, I think is irrelevant because he was just a terrible person. But that's just my 2 cents.
Well, no, man, and I appreciate you coming over here. This crossover was fun. I want to do
I
another.
appreciate you having me. Thank
when
you.
my voice is better, dude. Like, I don't know. We'll find something else to talk about, dude. Like,
absolutely.
You know what I mean?
By the way, thanks, Jensen. I really enjoyed listening to you too tonight.
Thank you very much. That's very nice of you.
No, really, it's a lot of great things you said. A lot of a lot to add to the conversation.
Yeah, definitely good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, I'm gonna dip out then. I'm gonna take this opportunity to say thank you for having me. It was a good time. Hope you all have a great night. Thank you.
Thanks very much for coming over from Creepy Little Book over to the Maddage channel, and please go ahead and subscribe and give him a thumbs up too while you guys are here, please.
Yeah, definitely.
And so thank you for coming.
Good night, Maddage. Good night,
appreciate you guys.
Bye-bye,
fellas.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you guys. Thank you very much. We're gonna go ahead and end the show. Crowley looks like he was a sicko. It is what it is. We're out. Peace. See you tomorrow.
Bye-bye, everybody.